Welcome to the presentation today, part 2 of our webinar series, Improving Workforce Retention in the Substance Misuse Prevention Field. What makes them stay? Help write the playbook for prevention workforce retention. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenters today. Jamie Comstock and Robin Carr founded Info Inspired in 2014. After many years of designing and giving presentations with no formal training in this area and watching their public health colleagues struggle with the same skills gap, both are certified prevention specialists with 30 years combined experience in the field. They've spent the last several years researching and testing ways to not only capture and hold an audience's attention, but to also inspire audiences. They spent countless hours refining the presentation planning process, identifying free resources, and learning how to maximize the tools they already had, and they've shared their findings with the thousands of people across the country. It's also important to know that they aren't graphic designers, artists, or especially tech savvy. Everything they do, you can do too. I'll now turn the time over to Jamie and Robin.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Jamie Comstock, and this is my partner in crime, Robin Carr. Just gonna wave at you in a second. There she is. We're gonna start today with our land acknowledgement. So as we gather in this place, we want to acknowledge that we are occupying the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Wabanaki people, who for thousands of years have called this place home. We acknowledge their continued connection to this land, give thanks for allowing us to do this good work on their homeland, and remember their ancestors who were here before us. And that was kindly written by Denise Altvader from the Passamaquoddy tribe. Hello. So who are we and why are we here? I will answer that question for you right now. Robin and I, like Taylor mentioned, we are both certified prevention specialists. We have a lot of experience working in the field of prevention, from implementing strategies to supervising staff to creating programs and designing them and implementing them and evaluating them, the whole kind of continuum of experience there. We work at a public health department in Bangor, Maine, and we have been working together for a lot of years. We've been working in the same building together for about 10 years now, a little over 10 years. And when we started working together, like Taylor explained to you in our bio, we started doing a lot of presentations together, and they were not having the impact that we wanted them to have. So like any good DIYers, which Robin and I are at the very core of our essence, we decided to figure out how we could make our presentations better. Just for us, we wanted to be doing better. So we had much smaller kids at the time. And so when we weren't momming and we weren't working, we were honestly trying to figure out the answer to this problem. And we spent a lot of time on nights and weekends and before work. And we came up with this process, the 4-step process for developing presentations. And our colleagues in Maine loved what we had done. They asked us if we could teach them how to do that. And we've kind of been training in this prevention space since that time. We are kind of uniquely positioned to have access to and connection with a whole bunch of prevention specialists. Our training kind of wheelhouse is around needs of prevention specialists and others kind of in similar fields, but we do a lot of work training with prevention specialists. And so we have some special, I guess, special knowledge around or interest in facilitating this session for you today. What makes them stay? And I wanted to I wanted to just acknowledge that we're hoping to have like a really great conversation with you today. We're going to be here together for, I think, until 12:15. And this really is an opportunity to hear from you, whether you're a seasoned supervisor or a new staff member or anything in between. The goal is to have a real dynamic discussion today and to use the information to develop strategies to strengthen retention of the prevention workforce. Robin and I are going to switch off a little bit, and then just how it's going to work is that we're going to try to get through as much as possible today and allow time for input in several different areas. So that means we may have to cut some conversations short, but please know that we'd love to be sure we get everyone's feedback. So feel free to use your chat function and type additional ideas in the chat, or we can connect after the session. So far, Robin, is that good? All right. I am going to begin by telling you a story of my own retention woes. And this one is about a young woman named Caitlin, and the names have been changed to protect the innocent for sure. So I had it was a tobacco prevention position, and I was trying to hire for that position. This was a few years ago. And I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed over time, and sometimes it ebbs and flows, but sometimes when I have an opening for a position, I'll have a whole bunch of really great resumes to choose from. And then I can just have my kind of pick. We can get a whole bunch of people in for an interview. With this particular position, I'm not really sure what it was, the time of the year or the specific position, but when I didn't get a lot of resumes back, so I didn't get a lot of response back, which was a little odd. But I finally did get this resume in for this young lady named Caitlin, and Caitlin came in for an interview. What I thought to myself was, she's got really good community experience. And for me, I prioritize community experience above all else, because I feel like I can teach those kind of content things that we need to know, the who, what, where, when, why, how, that kind of thing. But what I find is harder to be able to teach is how someone interacts with the community. And so I always look for that piece. That's kind of a non-negotiable for me. So anyway, Caitlin brought some of this to this to us during this interview. We got to know each other a little bit better. I felt like she might be able to really succeed at this job. I explained more about the position, because when you work in policy systems and environmental change, it's a big difference from working in like a direct service position. So the work is different, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone likes it. Anyway, she understood that. She thought she might like to try that out. So I brought her back for a second interview with some more staff people. Everyone really liked her. She was gonna fit with our team. That's another big non-negotiable for me, is fit within the team. And so I offered her the job, and she accepted. So the other thing that was it's kind of sticky for me at this point was the timing. And the timing was that it was right at Christmas time. And timing for her meant she really needed to start this job, like finance-wise, she needed to start kind of quickly. And I was going to be in the office for if I hired her, I could bring her on and be in the office with her for 5 days before I was jumping out to be on Christmas break with my kids for a week. And many other people in the office were going to be on break too. So I wasn't comfortable with it, but I did it. So I brought her on, and I oriented her. I gave her, did as much as I could with her for that week. And then I made sure that she had a lot of solid kind of guidance, webinars, things that she could do kind of on her own for the next week to learn and while I was away. And I gave her my cell phone number and I said, please feel free to call me or connect with me or text me. There was also another staff person who was going to be around to help her if she had questions. So I didn't hear anything from Caitlin, and I thought, oh, good, she must be getting along really well. And when I got back to the office the next week, I noticed when I came in that her door was shut. I thought that's kind of weird. And I have an office. I'm not in it right now, but my office looks a lot like Robin's. So you can kind of imagine that office. So when I opened the door to my office, I saw on the ground an envelope with my name on it. I was like, oh, that's strange. So I pick up this envelope and I open it up, and it's a sheet of paper, and it's like folded 3 ways, like trifold. And when I opened that up, a key fell out of the piece of paper. And in this note, it said, "Dear Jamie, I don't think this position is a fit for me. Thank you for the opportunity. I wish you the best, Caitlin." I was like, oh my gosh, I just got Dear Jamie'd. This is crazy. And that is my kind of flagship failure as a supervisor, what makes them stay or not stay story. And I pride myself on retention. That's one of the things that I have. I'm very proud of the fact that usually I do a pretty good job with that. And usually the folks who are working with me, we have a pretty good communication and we can talk about things. And so I was kind of blindsided by this. I have people who've been working with me for 17 years. I have people, ranging. People really kind of enjoy. We want to make sure that we have people who enjoy working with us together. So that did hurt my heart a little bit. The thing is that when I brought people on after that, I do tell them the Caitlin story. And I have people who will say to me now, like, I don't want to be a Caitlin, so can you answer this question? Or so it's kind of a little bit of a joke now. But that is one of the things that I do talk to new employees about, like, let's just make sure that these lines of communication are really, really open, because I want you to stay here. If I've hired you, I want you to stay. So maybe now we can move to the next slide. Someone's asking, I did find out why she left, and she left because she didn't like the work, but she didn't wait for me. And she went to work at another organization in our town. It's a small town. And so I did connect with her, and I did let her know that, just moving forward, that decision would have been fine with me. But in a small town, you have to be careful how you handle things like that. And so I told her that I would not share with anyone outside of people who already knew in the building, her coworkers, what happened. And I wouldn't give her, she didn't put my name down as a reference anyway, but she did find another job that was more direct service. And then she moved back to Iowa very shortly after that. So I don't think it was all me, but I did take it personally for a little while. So I was hoping that maybe some of you, I hope your stories aren't as dramatic as that, but maybe we could share one or two of these stories that people might have. Does anyone want to share? Okay. Raise your hand if you want to share, Taylor says. Ooh, Emma Gabriel. Hello.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for the anecdote. Yeah, I'm Emma Gabriel. I'm a prevention supervisor in Iowa City, Iowa. I became a supervisor having no background in prevention itself. So it's been a totally interesting experience for me to sort of learn the field and also learn how to direct people to do the work in the field. So one of the things that complicates that a little bit is that, you know, I'm based in Iowa City. I have a whole team in Iowa City, but I do have one prevention specialist in Des Moines, which is about a 2-hour drive away, and they focus specifically on problem gambling. And so it's a really hard position to begin with. But anyway, all of that to say, blah, 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 blah. Here's all the reasons why. I've really struggled with retaining that position. And I know that part of it is because I can't be there hardly at all, you know, and like, so we're an organization that's spread out across Iowa. We have locations in Des Moines, Fort Dodge, Webster City, Iowa City. And so my direct supervisor also isn't here, right? I've met her twice in person. I've been here for 15 months. So I know that it's possible to supervise someone remotely, but I have not done it well because I've had 2 people in that position since I've been here begin the position and leave the position. One did give a notice and then rescinded it actually, and the other just left. So I've really struggled with that challenge and would welcome any advice on how to do better.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I have a few ideas for you that we will address. I'll try to address those later or circle back with you. I do some problem gambling work. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that. Does anyone else have something to share?
We have something in the chat, Jamie.
Oh, let's see. I have staff. So this is a Miranda. I have staff serving a large region, and what I hear is that work can be lonely as we all have to go in different directions and cannot often do our work together. Any thoughts on keeping a team connected and helping the work not feel so lonely? Thank you. Okay. So what I think we're gonna do is we're gonna get to some of those things as we move through this. So in this, as much as I wish it could be a session where we automatically identify lots of good strategies for people right away. We struggle to get applicants for a part-time role. Great. We're going to crowdsource this all in just a few minutes. So we're all going to help each other. Wonderful. Okay, Robin, next slide. Now we're going to, as indicated by this, you knew that was coming, didn't you? All right, so if you could take your handy dandy cell phone or your laptop that you're on, and in one word, can you say why it's hard to hang on to prevention specialists? Okay, great. Ooh, just got bigger. Oh my gosh.
Jamie, while we're waiting, I saw one more comment in the chat
Oh, you did?
come through. Yeah.
Oh, let me see. You know what's funny is that my chat font is so big, it's hard for me to read. Like, isn't that ironic? But I have to enlarge the thing. I can't figure it out. I started during COVID. This is from Kathleen Parks, and didn't meet my team in person for a very long time. Many of our initiatives were paused because we were limited with contact in person. It was a difficult time, but I'm very self-driven to learn on my own. I think a mentorship program is important when bringing someone new on board. That's wonderful. I think that the other thing that I totally neglected to mention that I should have mentioned is that when Mountain Plains PTTC is sponsoring this session, and one of our great hopes for this session is to not only like crowdsource kind of solutions for and with each other, but it is to identify a spot where Mountain Plains PTTC with their training and technical assistance can provide some of the support. And I think that the mentorship is a great is an area where that might be able to happen. Okay, so we have unstable funding, under-supported, unsupported, lack of growth, too many functional responsibilities, underappreciated, lonely, pay, grants run out. Those are a lot of good. I'm gonna take a picture of this because I know I'll need it later. There. All right. Thank you. Let's see. I think I got another thing in the chat. Lack of credibility. Okay. So let's dig into some of these things here. Robin and I, when we were talking about how to kind of organize this session, one of the things that we thought about were what are some of the work-related worries that prevention specialists have, and we talked about in the building stuff versus out of the building stuff. So stuff that they're worried about internally. What are some of the things that you all are seeing that people are worried about with relation to their work? Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Do you want me to put up some of the things we've heard, Jamie?
Oh, yes, that would be great. Okay. And really feel free to take yourself off mute and jump in. Okay, so some of the too much work. This is great. Whew. Okay, so far we have things like some of their worries are not meeting short-term outcomes. The grant cycle is ending when they're separate from other staff. Maybe they've got too much work. Limited growth potential, so maybe not room to advance. Oh, you're not able to unmute. I'm sorry. Is there a way to switch that easily, Taylor, or no? If there's not, that's a fine answer too.
No, but if someone raises their hand, I can allow them to talk really quickly. So
okay. And not having a clear understanding of evidence-based prevention. So some of the other things that Robin and I talked about that we hear from folks we work with, let's see, how does this work? Is feeling that they're worried about feeling connection, about their usefulness, about whether or not they're productive enough. Recently, we heard from some staff that they're worried about trying to distribute their hours between all of their duties in the way that maybe their funding says they should be. And maybe the demand in one area doesn't align with the hours that they're supposed to be working in. So they're top heavy in certain tasks and light on other tasks. Some are worried about engaging with stakeholders in different areas of their work plan who have more important things to do right now. We see this a lot with schools right now. Where,
Jamie,
yeah,
oh, sorry,
yeah.
Joe McNeemar raised their hand.
Oh, Joe, hello.
Oh,
Oh,
hi,
yeah,
thank
yes,
you.
hi.
I didn't realize I raised my hand, but I will speak. I've been doing prevention for over 30 years. I have seen different priorities. I have seen there's not a consistency with what needs to be done, and a lot of specialists don't do community-based or faith-based, incorporating the 12 sectors. A lot of them stay in school-based, and that's sometimes a difficult place to get in.
So if they if they expanded their kind of purview a little bit, they would have more choices, more options.
Absolutely. The more you
Yeah.
network, when I first started doing this position, it's all about networking. It's all about the networking. And if you're working in an area that you live in, you're more easily acceptable, and some of your resources and opportunities are more accessible. But you've got to get out there and sell. We've got to learn how to market prevention. And that is not something that a lot of preventionists are taught. We are selling a product to a consumer. The consumer is the public. We have to do that promotion piece as well. And now also with the continuum of care, we need to incorporate wellness into our prevention efforts.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. Kathleen Parks is, yes, she's yesing you. She's plus oneing you.
I got a fan.
It is hard. Have you all like I've found kind of internally also, Robin and I have talked about this a little bit, how post-pandemic, as we're trying to move back out into the community, like some folks are having a harder time doing that. Like it's there's a safety, and I don't even mean like physical, like, you know, I'm not going to get COVID safety, but like a security of being kind of in the office versus out, kind of out in the fray. Are other people seeing that? Fear. Joe says fear. Yes. Yes. Okay, so clearly we need some marketing work here. Let's see, what else?
There are a couple other ones in the chat too, Jamie. From Susan, political restrictions at odds with grant requirements. Yeah.
Oh, yes. You know what, Susan, could you talk more a little? Could you unmute and talk about that? Could you raise your hand and tell me more about that?
Sure. Hi, I'm in Oregon and I work for a medium-sized local public health department. And our board of commissioners are elected officials, and they are typically more conservative perhaps than our funding streams, which come from the state level. And our state level politics are extremely liberal, and our local politics are more conservative. So for example, in tobacco policy funding, this is an easy example for me. We were trying for a long time to get some tobacco retail licensure enacted in the state, but it was falling to county level TPEP coordinators, and our board of commissioners were not supportive of that at all. And so it did impact the level of funding we could get. It made us look like we couldn't reach objectives that were set for us by our state funders. But because of our local political climate, we were unable to pursue those policy issues. So that's just the kind of example. And sometimes we have to moderate our language. For example, we have some folks here in my county that are not supportive of climate and environmental things. So we have to not say we're working to mitigate impacts of climate change, we have to say environmental hazards, things like that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we were having a talk about this this week or last week about something similar. Like there's a movement afoot to do tobacco flavor bans, and people in more conservative areas were saying, you know, if I try to do this in my area, they will come at me with shotguns. Like there's no way. So the political environment definitely, I understand exactly what you're saying. Thank you. Let's see. Woo. Yeah, other people are echoing that. The climate change versus environmental hazards conversation is interesting. Let's see. We're in a divided culture. Topics that used to not be divisive can now be very divisive and sensitive. We have some reentry shock. That goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It can be especially hard for younger, enthusiastic people. Older folks like me are easier to cope. That's so funny. Okay. In keeping with my own directive to stick by our time, we are going to now move on to, let's talk about, all right, so we've identified what the worries are in the building. Like these are all of the worries. We just did that. Now, what are some other things like outside of the building that worry our prevention specialists? Did we come up with a list for this one too?
Yes.
Inflation. Oh, yay. Good job. We've done some of this too. Yeah, and we're gonna hear some more in the chat. Does anyone want to unmute and talk about some of this stuff, some of the things that you're hearing and seeing? Susan says pressure and requirements to use data to inform decisions when there may be no existing reliable data. I'm going to +1 you on that. And I see Emma raised her hand. Emma, tell us what your thoughts are.
Yes, I'd also like to +2 on that. And and I think one of the things too is like the way that we track the work that we're doing is it feels very micromanagey. So for example, the timesheets that we fill out are at 15-minute increments, and we have like a grant drop down depending on what grant we're working on, because we work across a variety of different grants, and sort of what needs to be in the activity description in order to satisfy something like an auditor. And so basically, like, honestly, I think a lot of the issues that we have come down to we're working in a humanistic field and we're driven by numbers.
Well put. Robbins. Yes. Oh, hi, Roy.
Hi there. So I just wanted to say, you know, in working with working at the Mountain Plains PTTC and just hearing what various states in our region have to say, time off and flexibility are huge. So many people, right, are balancing so much. As we know, and we love that there are more males entering the field than ever, which is awesome. At least in our region, but it still is heavily female. And with so many demands, doesn't matter at what age you are, whether you're young or getting older, you have so many demands. And people just said, even if my supervisor was able to allow a little bit more time off or flexibility. And honestly, sometimes we hear from supervisors that, for example, there's nothing they can do. They might work at a city or county or state, right, where they don't have the opportunity to say, yes, you can have time off, but work something out. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to, tell you to do something illegal by any means, but try to work something out with your staff, where it's like, maybe they get every other Friday off, or, something, little things like that go a long way. At least that's what we're hearing in our region. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Emma's writing that like a flex schedule, her employer doesn't allow specialists to work from home except for in extenuating circumstances like the inclement and that's in Iowa. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Huh. One of the things that we have talked about a little bit that I wanted to mention is, and I don't know if you all, how you all manage this or if you see it or not, but there's sometimes like not all employees are created equally, right? And so there are high performers and there are lower performers. And I think sometimes the higher performers see that their approach is different and then can ask themselves like, now, why would I be putting in all of this effort when, my stress level is much higher and they're getting paid the same amount as I am. They have the same flexibility that I do. What is my incentive to continue on? I could coast a little bit. Robin, is that like, would you say that?
Yeah, I just think it's difficult sometimes because some of our work is longer term work, moving objectives forward. And so often it can be difficult to look at two employees doing similar roles are, what's realistic to expect? What is an expectation for an hour a day, a week? And are we all kind of working at the same pace, which I think is people notice when others around are working at different paces.
Yeah, they do. Thank you. All right, so I went back to the chat and I see there's a couple of things about kind of just supporting Rory's statement that and time off and flexibility aren't just for vacations. It's huge for people with kids, taking care of elderly, mental health days, etc. Yes, a lot of us are in this sandwich generation, and that is happening a lot. Bonnie says that she really likes the idea of comp time. And Robin and I were just talking about this. Robin might go see Waylon Jennings' grandson at a fair and distribute Narcan on Saturday, and she will receive comp time for that. And so that's pretty great. It's definitely a win-win. So a lot of endorsement for flexibility, a lot of endorsement for flexibility. And we will talk next about how some creative ways for doing some of that. Okay. So now we're gonna pop in. Robin has been taking some notes about the things that we've talked about. And now we're going to jump into some of that, some of the solving. I know that we as prevention specialists love to do some solving. And so we're going to pop into a different document, and Robin will take us there. Here it is.
Everybody go. You know what? I really had a hard time. These were some pre-populated themes that we were wondering if they might shake out as themes. But really, there were a lot of different concerns raised. So I'm not sure if there's something else on this list that other things we want to focus on this list.
You know, let me look at the chat really fast. And some of the things that have come up that I think we can talk about additionally are, oh, I know, kind of the isolation, right? Where people are lonely, or they're not supported like on site by a supervisor. I think Emma brought that one up, and a couple of people responded yes. And Kathleen mentioned that there was a like a mentorship was one possible solution to that. Let's see. I think that the marketing part is something that came up. Let's see. Let's just see how it goes. Maybe. All right. Oops. Where's that go? All right. So, ooh, funding ending. Feeling connected. Okay. So let's see. You know what? Let's start with this feeling connected. A strategy, one thing Stephanie says is one strategy can be to advocate for funding for an additional staff. What are other ideas around helping staff feel more connected? One thing I was thinking of specifically, I think for Emma and your gambling person, is I wasn't sure if they were tied into that national kind of the national gambling group. So maybe there are other ways to support them with other peers if you can't be on site. Kathleen says connecting with volunteers in the community, creating a workforce outside of grant limitations. So ways to support them where they are without you directly being there. I love that. Having casual check-ins with other prevention people in the region. Oh, hey, Michelle, how are you? Michelle says, perhaps fun virtual meetings with staff or meet in central locations a couple times a year. That's a great idea. I love all of these ideas. It's good to not see you, but to see your name. Hello.
Jamie, I just wanted
Yeah.
to mention that with the, you know, possibly even right a couple times a year meeting at a central location, trying to build that into your grant, if it's
Ooh.
possible. I realize that some grants don't even allow for that, but if it's possible when applying for a grant, build in funding for travel, even if it's just, you know, mileage and hotel, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will get to that point, they're like, well, we can't fund it. But if it's possible to build that in ahead of time, again, depending upon the grant, that is a way to, right, have the funding available to do that kind of thing throughout the year.
Yes, Roy, that is a good one. I love when people, one of the things that I really love is getting together with people who, you know, if we're working on the same budget at the same time, just having some kind of conversations around how people are approaching things, because like that example, some things I never would have thought of. Robin and I sometimes will call people and say, how are you wording this? Because we'll never get it passed. Like it will never fly past our funding source if we say it the way we want to say it, but someone else says, oh yeah, I have this other way to say it and it works. So that's great. Okay, how about, what do you guys want to talk about next? You want to talk about flexibility? Who's got some ideas around how we can support strategies for supporting flexibility? And we had a few. When someone, Bonnie was saying that she's a huge fan of comp time. So are generally, are folks able to offer comp time? Is that possible for people? Comp time, flex time, hybrid work environments, people choosing their days. We have there's supposed to be a more official process than I use with my team. I think that's sort of how it works with us too. It depends on how comfortable you are and kind of what maybe some of the culture in the, the building can carry only 8 hours into summer. 8 hours into summer, huh? Clearly, all of these policies have not been created by working mothers. So Michelle is saying that she believes flex time is a must. When her kids were younger, being able to have a flexible schedule for activities were priceless. Yeah, we have some public health nurses in our building, and I think our building is generally a little more flexible now than it was a long time ago. And that was one of the things that the then supervisor was able to allow people to do, was, flex their time to go to kids' baseball games or other events.
Jamie,
Yeah.
Emma raised her hand.
Oh, Emma, yes, I am. If you can't know this, but I'm on the full screen chat because I can't manage my font for that. So I couldn't see that. So thanks, Taylor. Emma.
No, it's all good. I totally got caught up in taking notes on what we were talking about and forgot what I was going to say. So I'm just gonna, thank you.
And we will give you all these notes. So if you just want to, if you don't want to think about doing that, you don't have to. How about compensation? Let's see. Let me get this last one. Having achievable goals is important. Perhaps having more flexible goals or having management understand when goals aren't met instead of punishments. Also spreading some of the more stressful tasks across a few employees. Yes, I love that.
Hey, Jamie, this is Rory again.
Hi,
I'm sorry,
Rory.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
No.
Just trying to get out some of the things that we've heard also within our region, just to spark some ideas for people. Honestly, like a $25 gift card, it's amazing how far that will go. And I realize that, so let's just say, for example, you're totally stuck. There is no way you can give your staff a pay raise. It's just not in the cards. Because we all know we're in this for the money, right? But I've heard of some successes where, meeting certain goals, each month, right? You simply get a $25 Amazon gift card or things like that. And I realize that it's almost impossible to buy those things with grant funds. So obviously the organizations that have been successful with this have either had them donated or, some other way in which they're getting it. But just little things like that go a long way. And then just mentioning too that we've heard, and this of course is not the case for everyone, but some people have said, honestly, flexibility and the ability to be with my kids and to create my own schedule and things like that is more important to me than money at this state, you know, at this point. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Emma is saying that their controller applied for a grant to provide an agency-wide retention bonus that they were awarded. This was a nice surprise for every member of the team. Prevention, treatment, nurses, admin, etc. That's great. And you know what? The thing that I want to underscore here sometimes too, Robin and I talk about this, is that sometimes it's not even the outcome, it's the advocacy, right? So even if your controller was not successful in getting that grant, the fact that they applied for that and they saw that that was a gap and that they were trying to do something about it, I think speaks a lot about the culture of the organization and the willingness of the organization to support employees. So I applaud your organization for that. I think that is a great idea. I also remember one Christmas, we had these, an organization called the Bangor Elves. Now we work in Bangor, Maine, and they were, they gave every employee at the public health department a $5 Dunkin' Donuts gift card. And that really made me cry because I was like, oh my God, someone cares about me to give me a $5 Dunkin' Donuts card. And so imagine, you know, again, that those gift cards that Rory were talking about might actually go, you know, further than you imagine. Jana is saying great healthcare plans. Yep. What else do we have here? All right. Robin, what's below that? Buying lunch for employees. Let's see. Or even giving employees a longer lunch. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I think one of the things in like being self-directed and accomplishing work plan goals, one of the things that I saw that caught my eye is Nancy's comment about having achievable goals is important. Perhaps having more flexible goals or having management understand when goals aren't met instead of punishments. Also spreading some of the more stressful tasks across a few employees. I think that is, that's a gold comment right there. And as a supervisor, I think sometimes it's easy to reward the high performing employee with more work and, instead of like a well-deserved break. How about, you know what I want to ask? I think that we might need to be kind of moving along to this other part. Let me check my timeline. Oh, yeah, I think it is. Robin, is it time for me to turn it over?
Oh goodness, I hope you don't, because you're doing such a good job. But I think we wanted to be able to touch on the structural and culture pieces that might be at play within your organization. And some of these have already come to light really well. Like we know we have to work within these certain constraints, but people are finding ways to be flexible. So we wanted to give a little bit of space to talk more about that. If anyone wants to share more about the constraints of their particular organization and ways they have been able to work within that structure or within that culture to be responsive to the prevention specialist needs.
Ooh, Emma.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking too much. So we've experienced a lot of these issues in the last 15 months because we merged with a different company. And so there was kind of like the old guard who did things a certain way. And then when we merged with a different company, there are a lot of changes. And a lot of those changes have to do, and this is why my focus on numbers is so prescient, with even the way that our staff gets evaluated. So our 6-month evaluations, our annual evaluations are set up on a spreadsheet that tabulates a particular percentage, and that percentage dictates what raise people get annually, whether it's 3%, 4%, or 5%. And it's virtually impossible to ever get 5%. And the 3% raise, which is noted as meets expectations or average, the percentage comes out to something like 67%. And so one of the things that I'm discussing with our HR director is sort of just even changing that scale, so it doesn't look like we're grading our employees a D or a C
Oh, yeah.
when they're meeting expectations, you know?
Yes. That is a really good example. And I think about one of the things we've advocated to do, we had someone talked about earlier, like the flat structure, and we had a pretty flat structure, and it was kind of untenable. It was kind of like untenable in terms of like managing that flat structure. And so I advocated with Robin to have a different kind of leadership structure. So even some of those like kind of organizational changes like that, that can do a couple of things at once. They can, make more sense for your program structure. They give more room for people to advance throughout. Bye, Kathleen. Thank you. I can even think about, I've pushed back on funders who want to do something, and advocated for my staff and their well-being. I can't remember why I did that. But it was pretty recent, and it was kind of acknowledging to this funder that our staff has just been we're really tired. And so we need to not be so pushy. What other, oh, let's see. Rory says that another thing she's heard in their region, in the Mountain Plains region, is a higher different title for preventionists that may not be supervisors, but they've been in the field for a while. So just a title change may make them feel appreciated or honored. That's a good, what is data? What's data lead? Oh, data lead. Yes, I got it. I see you. I understand what you're saying. Let's see. Do we want to talk about like this, this marketing prevention a little bit? And Emma, is your hand up still or again? Okay, I didn't want to miss you. That's okay. That's okay. Do we want to talk a little more about this, how to market prevention? No. Okay. Oops, let's see what we got here. I hate that we have to frame it that way. Oh, goodness.
So I think I'm going to move back, Jamie, to the other, because we do want to have time to talk about the internal solves that we can do. And then also a little bit more about what support and tools, resources, training people might find value in, perhaps that Mountain Plains PTDC can offer.
Perfect.
And I think, one prompt I'll give is that we had an almost Caitlin. and she's still here. And her name is Nikki, and that's her real name, and we love her. And really unexpectedly, one day, about a year and a half into her working with us, she gave her resignation, and it was shocking. And she's, you know, a little bit of a younger person, newer in the field, and she didn't give a lot of information in her resignation about why she was getting done. And it came to light that she was really afraid of public speaking. And we hadn't even thought about that. We hadn't done a lot of training around that. We hadn't provided much support about it. And so we were able to talk her out of leaving, and you know, really work on creating a work plan with strategies that worked for her, played to her strengths, and have tried to help her build her skill set and comfortability with public speaking, those functions of the job, by partnering her with somebody who's seasoned at doing that in the office, and then also some training things. So you know, sometimes you can really, I mean, we do try. I think by and large, another reason why, you know, we're successful in keeping people here is we're able to sort of tailor the work to people's strengths to the best of our ability. But what kinds of things, we also understand that as supervisors, our time is really constrained. And as much as I want to be able to mentor and provide information and knowledge, number one, you may not have experience in prevention. Number two, you might be balancing a lot of responsibilities. So what are there types of support and training that you think you might need to share with your workforce and helping them get comfort in some areas they may not be comfortable in, or implement some of these things? Okay. We're seeing Strategic Prevention Framework 101 in the chat. Thank you, Emma.
I just wanted to mention that we will be creating and distributing a Prevention 101 e-learning course in probably like the next 6 months. And it should be, it's absolutely for new specialists to give them the basics on SPF. So we hope that will be helpful.
I also see basic facilitation skills in the chat. Oh, mock conversations. That's a great idea. Solutions-focused training for both supervisors and staff. I have had some training, but I think it should be something all prevention staff are exposed to. Miranda, can you say a little bit more about that, either in the chat or by raising your hand to unmute?
Yes, so my agency does provide solution-focused training for management staff, and it really is about problem-solving skills, obviously, really looking at what would this look like in 3 to 6 months if we could deal with this, if things could be changed, if this could be an easier process for you, whatever that might be. And I just think we sometimes get so stuck in the ruts because this work is so hard that it could be very beneficial, I think, for staff to be more exposed to that, not that I've just been exposed to it some. So just an idea.
Yeah, great, thank you. Any other thoughts about tools, training, or resources you might need to implement some of the ideas you've heard, or other needs of your workforce?
I don't want to get away from the mentoring. I don't want that to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, for the official record.
Yeah, I'll put it in there.
Yeah. Oh, it's there. I see it.
It's official.
It is official. Okay. I can't see if anyone's raising their hand. So.
No one is raising their hand. If someone raises their hand, I will let you know, or Taylor is good about that too.
As we're wrapping things up, we did want to leave some time to just broadly ask if you have any parting thoughts or important nuggets, anything that conversation sparked for you that you wanted to share, either in the chat or raise your hand to unmute.
Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi, me again. I would
It's
just say,
great.
like,
Never apologize. Never apologize.
I think one of the things like that's just a broader structural issue nationwide is the fact that like a lot of our funding comes from government sources, but they've not increased the amount of money we can allocate towards salaries and benefits, even though it's very clear that inflation is having like a drastic impact on folks. And so like the only change that I've seen is increasing like the mileage, but I'm wondering if there's a way on like a broader level to petition for more funding from something like SAMHSA, who funds a lot of different prevention programs across the country, just because I mean, it's been really hard for us to retain workforce, and we have a pretty low cost of living here. And so that's sort of just one of the things that I've been mulling over for a few months is like, to what extent do we have any type of, could we have any type of impact on that?
That's a great thought. And I also see Stephanie has in the chat where to post job descriptions besides local schools. Do others have input about where they post their jobs? Oh, the CADCA board. That's a good idea.
We have sometimes I'll post to the Maine Public Health Association, the Maine Association of Nonprofits. We do indeed.com locally. Oh, good. Rory's saying they're advocating with SAMHSA right now regarding funding. That is really good news. We've done job posting on Facebook. So one time, someone in our prevention group, she's a juggler. She knows how to juggle. And so we made a video of her juggling, and we said, if you like to juggle, then here's the place for you to be. Any other, Rory was like, LinkedIn. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Trying to think.
We do have I don't want to say the world's best intern turned employee recently as well, but partnerships with colleges and universities. Someone came to us. We have someone in our building who's a wonderful mentor and has taken interns for a good number of years. And one of the interns she's had in the last couple of years has come into our fold, and now she has graduated and is an employee, and having that internship opportunity in partnership with the universities has been great. And it's great we have somebody in our building that has that as a strength.
Yeah.
So I see that Rory's put in the chat, we want to, we appreciate everyone being here today and participating, and the start that this is, and everybody's feedback. And I am going to advance the slides and turn things back over to Taylor so that they can close this session.
Jamie and Robin, thank you so much. This, like Rory said, this is just the beginning, and this is where it starts, is a conversation. And so thank you all for being here and for participating.